Ted Bundy is widely regarded as one of the most notorious serial killers in the annals of United States history. Just hearing his name is enough to send shivers down one's spine. Bundy had a double life, preying on victims who were unaware of his activities and leaving a swath of dread in his wake. Despite his charming attitude and seemingly regular exterior, Bundy was a serial killer. Before we show you how dangerous he was, make sure to like and subscribe for more such amazing stories. Early life and innocence. Ted Bundy's early life appeared to be pretty ordinary, presenting no immediate clues of the darkness that would later devour him. However, this did not prevent him from becoming one of the most notorious serial killers in American history. Bundy was reared in a secure and loving home by his maternal grandparents, Samuel and Eleanor Cowell. Bundy was born on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont. However, his true parentage was kept a secret from him, and he was encouraged to believe that his mother was actually his sister. Beginning at a young age, Bundy shone both brilliance and drive, succeeding in his academic pursuits and demonstrating an interest in the political and legal systems. In spite of the fact that he was charming and charismatic, indications of a shadowy side started to surface, such as a preoccupation with graphic pornographic material. Bundy's shift into a serial killer was slow and driven by a mix of elements, such as his increasing fantasies and a sense of power obtained from acts of violence. Despite these early warning indications, Bundy's transformation into a serial murderer was gradual. The multifaceted nature of the effects, both psychological and environmental, on his life combined to play a part in the formation of the notorious murderer that he would become. The masked sluts. When Ted Bundy's dark impulses and violent tendencies began to appear, the carefully constructed mask of normalcy began to disintegrate, and it didn't take long for the mask to fall off. During his time as a student, he carried out a string of gruesome murders that sent shockwaves throughout the country. Bundy often seemed to be a helpless person who was in need of aid in order to deceive and trap unsuspecting victims into his web of deception and manipulation. As soon as he had acquired their trust, he divulged his true objectives and let loose his cruel appetites, putting a horrible end to their lives as a result. The fact that friends, acquaintances, and even law enforcement failed to see the monster within him added to the tragedy of his murders, as the sharp contrast between his apparent attractiveness and his concealed darkness added to the misery of his crimes. Bundy's actual nature was, however, eventually uncovered as a result of a combination of investigative efforts and lucky circumstances, which ultimately led to his apprehension and the public revelation of his horrible deeds. The exposure of Ted Bundy as the serial killer offers as a chilling illustration of how evil may masquerade as charming on the outside. The charmer. Ted Bundy's frightening ability to charm and deceive was a significant component of his dark personality, and it was one of the reasons he earned the nickname the Charmer. Bundy skillfully manipulated people's trust by using his good looks, knowledge, and charisma to draw them in and gain their confidence. Because of his charisma, he was able to fit in with society without difficulty, portraying himself to others as a courteous and helpful guy, while successfully disguising his true goals. Not only did his outward appearance of normalcy make it easier for him to communicate with victims, but it also helped him avoid raising suspicion among his friends, acquaintances, and the authorities. Bundy's charisma worked as a tool of deception, disarming his victims and establishing control over them. This demonstrates the grim reality that evil may frequently be found hiding beneath an alluring and charming appearance. Ted Bundy's victims. Bundy admitted to the murder of 36 young women across multiple states in the 1970s, but many experts believe the true number of victims may be closer to 100 or even more. There will never be a way to determine the precise number of women that Bundy murdered. His murders almost always followed a particularly heinous routine. He would frequently rape his victims before murdering them with blows to the head. There is substantial disagreement regarding when Bundy first began killing people. According to the vast majority of accounts, he started his killing spree around the year 1974. During this time period, a significant number of women vanished from the Seattle area and the surrounding state of Oregon. There were rumors going about that some of the victims had been spotted with a young man with dark hair named Ted shortly before they disappeared. On the other hand, criminologist Matt DeLizzi contends in a book published in 2023 that Bundy most likely murdered more than 100 people and that he began killing while he was a teenager. Bundy drops a lot of clues that there were way more murders, DeLizzi said, emphasizing afterwards that the authorities were woefully unequipped to pursue Bundy down. Bundy drops a lot of clues that there were way more murders, DeLizzi added, and the pace at which he's killing between 1974 and 1978 indicates that there's no way he could have just started. The author says, Bundy would frequently trick his victims into getting into his automobile by acting as though he was hurt and asking for their assistance. Their generosity ended up being a catastrophic flaw in the plan. The investigation and capture. Ted Bundy's reign of terror came to an end as a result of painstaking investigation, teamwork between law enforcement organizations, and a stroke of luck. As the number of women who went missing increased, investigators began to piece together clues and communicate vital information with authorities in neighboring jurisdictions. The investigation relied heavily on the testimonies of eyewitnesses as well as the examination of physical evidence in order to narrow down the potential suspects. However, Bundy was finally taken into custody after being stopped for a minor traffic violation in the state of Florida. After identifying him as a possible suspect, a police officer searched his vehicle and found evidence that implicated him, which led to a chain reaction of admissions and additional evidence. The arrest of Bundy provided a feeling of relief to the communities that had become tormented by his atrocities, and it demonstrated the strength of diligent investigative work in the pursuit of justice. The case has left an indelible mark on the procedures of law enforcement, highlighting the significance of cooperation and dogged persistence in bringing dangerous criminals to justice. Ted Bundy's death. At approximately 7 a.m. on January 24, 1989, Bundy was put to death in an electric chair at a Florida state prison. This chair was sometimes referred to as Old Sparky. After Bundy was executed, thousands gathered outside of the prison and celebrated with cheers and even fireworks. Some attendees brought frying pans, which they used to make noise and yell "Burn, Bundy, burn," while doing so. The religious broadcaster James Dobson allegedly had a conversation with Bundy the night before he took his own life, as reported by the Los Angeles Times. He said that Bundy shed tears on many occasions and apologized for the wrongdoing he had committed. On the evening before he was to be put to death, Bundy spoke to his mother on the phone twice and ate his final meal, which consisted of steak, eggs, hash browns, and bread. Bundy reportedly directed his final comments to his attorney, Jim Coleman, as well as to a pastor named Fred Lawrence. Before he passed away, Bundy asked them, "I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends," and they complied. The legacy and societal impact. Ted Bundy left behind a legacy that continues to send shivers down the spines of members of society even now. His case had a significant effect on society, acting as a lesson to be learned and compelling a reappraisal of the public's knowledge of serial killers and how they are perceived by the general public. The terrifying nature of his crimes raised awareness of the possibility of charming predators who could effortlessly navigate society, which in turn prompted a transformation in the procedures of police enforcement. The public's obsession with the psychology of serial killers and the reasons behind their horrible deeds was heightened by the high-profile trial and subsequent execution of Bundy by the electric chair. His case brought to light the significance of enhanced communication and collaboration between law enforcement organizations, developments in forensic procedures, and a fuller knowledge of the shadowy regions of the human psyche. The legacy of Ted Bundy serves as a grim reminder of the depths to which human depravity may go, as well as the never-ending quest to stop future tragedies from reaching the same level as those he committed. That's all for today's video. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments section below. and make sure to like and subscribe to our channel.